Now, before we get into this, I just want to say thank you. Genuinely. Every single time that you watch, you comment, or you share one of my videos, you're helping me do something that I love, and I do not take that for granted. And look, if you ever think, oh, I love what Chris is doing, and I want to support him, then there is a way to do that. It's called the Executive Producer Programme. Now, this isn't some sort of big corporate thing, it's just a fancy name I've given to the small way that you can help me keep doing this. In return, I'll make sure that you get some perks, early access, bonus content, and even sitting in on some of my celebrity interviews on Zoom. Now, listen, no pressure at all. But if you fancy it, or if you fancy checking it out, the link is producers.thepeerproject.co.uk. You can go and have a look if you want, when you've got a second. Okay, let's get into this then. Hello, and welcome to part 2 in our Build Your Self-Esteem Month series. This one's called That Little Voice. Because if you're anything like me, then there's a little voice in your head that is just relentless. The voice that tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not confident enough. Sound familiar? Yeah, me too. And if I'm honest, I'm absolutely sick of listening to it. So, today the plan is we are going to call it out. We're going to challenge it, and we're going to start fighting back. Because here's the thing, that voice is a liar. But it's so convincing, isn't it? Because for years I believed every single word. So, if you've been feeling stuck, doubting yourself, thinking you'll never get your confidence back, then stick with me, because we're going to work on this together. Now, I can talk to you about something that happened as recent as last night. So, my wife showed me a picture, and it was a really good picture. It was a photo of 10 full Royal Mail bags from when Lucy's Blue Day first came out. Stacks and stacks and stacks of books that people had ordered. It should have been a proud moment. But instead, my first response, I said to her, "Don't depress me." But she looked right at me, and she said, "Chris, we could do this again." And right away, off the bat, I said, "Nope." And when she asked me why, my inner voice had already answered. Because you're not confident enough anymore. Because you'd be a fraud standing in front of those kids, talking about mental health when you can't even figure it out yourself. And that's exactly how the inner voice works. It takes something positive, something good, and twists it. It makes you feel like you're not worthy of the success that you've already had. And if you don't catch it, and if you don't challenge it, it just keeps getting louder and louder and louder. And it's not just the big moments like that. It's every single day. Every single day I wake up, and I wake up so inspired, ready to take on the world. I have great ideas for videos, something that could really help people, and then I'll talk myself out of it. No one cares about positivity on the internet. This won't be good enough. You'll just embarrass yourself, and I let that voice win. But here's something that I try to remind myself. You don't need to believe every single thought that you have. And that brings me to one of the worst things that I've actually thought about myself. Now, this one's actually quite hard to admit, but for years, my worst belief about myself, you're destined to be fat forever. And it's not even about how I look. It's about what it means, that I don't have the willpower anymore, that I don't deserve to feel comfortable in my own body. And the thing is, I proved that voice wrong before. I lost a ton of weight a few years ago. I worked so hard and I felt great, but then life happened. I gained all that weight back, and now that voice is louder than ever. See, I told you, you were never going to keep it off. And I believed it. I let one setback erase years of progress. But here's the truth. Setbacks don't define you. How you respond does. Now, I didn't fully realise this until I started teaching. I run creative writing mentorships, and one day I was helping this girl with her book. And the whole time, my inner voice was going crazy. You're not smart enough to be doing this. Who do you think you are giving advice? You're not a real teacher. But after the session, she was buzzing. She left so motivated, so excited. so ready to take on the world. And do you know who did that? This guy. And that's when I realised I don't have to believe every stupid word and thing my brain tells me. And neither do you. So a while ago, I trained for a wrestling match. Now, if you've ever wrestled, then you'll know how intense the training is. It's actually grueling. That's how I first dislocated my shoulder. But my inner voice? Well, my inner voice was going mad. You're not an athlete. You're just going to make a fool of yourself. You will never be as good as the others. Now, at this point, I couldn't quit because I was under some pressure from ITV. So I had to go through with it. And you know what? I did it. And do you know what the most, I don't even want to say funny, but the silliest part was? The moment I finished, that little voice piped up again. It said, "See? I told you could do it." All right, yeah, now you believe me. Okay, enough of my stories. This is the part now where we actually do something about it. We have spent way too long listening to that voice and letting it in. So here's what I'm doing to fight back. And you should try it too. Catch it in the moment. You know that feeling when you're about to talk yourself out of something? Just pause for a second. Before you let it win, just catch it. Notice it. That's the first step. Next, and this might sound so simple, but say it out loud. Have you ever noticed how things sound? Have you ever noticed how things sound ridiculous when you try and say them out loud? Go for it. If you think, "I'll never be confident again," say it out loud. Doesn't sound right, does it? Number 3 is answer it like a friend. If your best friend came up to you and said, "I'm a fraud. I will never be good at this. I should just give up." You wouldn't say, "Yeah, you're right." You'd say, "No, that's not true. Look at everything that you've already done." So why don't we talk to ourselves like that? Number 4, take the smallest step first. If you don't feel confident enough to go to the gym, go for a 5-minute walk. If you're scared to make that big video, film a 10-second clip. Don't try to fix everything at once. Just do one tiny thing. Because confidence isn't something that you wait for. It is something that you build. Now, here's one thing that I need you to remember. Your inner voice is not always right. You do not have to believe every thought you have. And you are capable of more than you think. And this isn't just words, okay? And if you're struggling with confidence right now, know that I am right there with you, and we are doing this together. Now, if this hit home for you, let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it, because we are not doing this alone. We've got this together.